And welcome to the Daily Space Weather Show. We've got another exciting day for space weather as we're seeing a conflagration of sunspots and CMEs happening as we make the video. And thanks for tuning into the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. These are the past 24 hours from SDO in ionized helium. And pardon our lack of a video yesterday. There were some technical difficulties with your host. So here's the southern hemisphere, and you can see some sunspot growth happening down there. Sunspot growth in the Laustern Him. Yeah. Sunspot growth in the eastern limb is a thing. And multiple CMEs happening as we create the video. So here's the northern hemisphere, and before we get into any more of that, let's take a look at these CMEs that are happening as we make the video today. Coronal mass ejections leaving the corona right now. So there's a pretty sweet coronal loop making its way out. Looks like it's going to be a massive CME. Also one down there in the southeast. Is nothing to shake a stick at. Why anybody would shake a stick at solar plasma, I have no idea, but here is the SDO continuum, and looks like another big uptick in sunspots coming for tomorrow. Unless something suddenly changes, but in the last 24 hours, big-time sunspot growth, mainly in the northeastern quadrant. There's a colorized magnetogram for the past 24 hours, or that's just today, I guess? Yeah, that's today. And congratulations, you've survived another month. Welcome to February. And by the way, press the like button if you're new to the channel. Press subscribe. Make sure you contribute to the particle physicist segment if you like. Don't miss tomorrow's Daily Space Weather video, as we'll be not only premiering the Ask a Particle Physicist segment. Make sure you subscribe to Eugene the Philosopher. We'll also be releasing the video by itself from last week. So check out our playlists for that. YouTube.com/smashomash/playlists. If you want to contribute to the Ask a Particle Physicist segment, just head to smashomash.com/forum. Visit the General Science Forum, and you too can submit a question. It's too late to submit one for tomorrow. I've already submitted that this morning. The deadline is when I wake up on Thursday. Again, make sure you subscribe to Eugene the Philosopher, the largest contributor to the Smash-O-Mash channel, the Smash News Network, least busted name in news, etc. And let's get into volcanic coverage. So these are what are currently going off, and there are some risks at Grindavik. So the likelihood of the Reykjanes Peninsula seeing another eruption is now going up. So lots of hazards there, including ice cauldrons and some other stuff. If you're going hiking around the Grindavik volcano area, please heed the warnings. Also, Ibu is erupting, producing about an 11,000-foot ash plume there over Indonesia. Also, Luatolo, Semeru, and it looks like Kilauea is also picking up as well. So exciting stuff going on. Multiple new eruptions here going on. The Halema Uma'u lava lake showing some quake activity below it. Also Popocatépetl, Fuego, Revenador, and Sabancaya. We'll also cover earthquakes. Yeah, EQs. Not equalizers. Earthquakes. Current activity level low. Not a lot of quakes in the past 24. And certainly no large quakes. These are the 5 and greater magnitude events. And what do you got? Not a lot. A lot of small quakes at Hawaii, though. So lots of activity there at Hawaii. Look at the list of small quakes. Let's zoom in. Look at the quakes at Hawaii. Dag. That is a lot of activity there. And what's up with that? That is under Mauna Loa there. Oh, no, that's Kilauea. My bad. That's Kilauea. All right, there we go. Look at all the quakes under Mauna Loa. I mean, Kilauea. Dag, dude. That's a lot of quakes. So yeah, anyway. Zooming back out to the full globe view here. Yeah, lots of quakes under Kilauea, folks. Look at the list. Just a berserk list. Guam area had a 5.1. That was at 7:45 this morning. Lots of shaking on the Big Island, folks. Look at the list of small quakes at Hawaii. That's the most we've ever covered on the channel for Hawaii. Kilauea, major unrest happening there. Tonga also producing a 5.0 quake there. Deep in the middle of nowhere there. In the South Pacific. So major geologic unrest under Kilauea. Also, Philippines had a 5.1. And let's get back to space. Check out the close-ups we got today, folks. Dag. How you like them apples? Not too much. Or maybe a lot. I don't know. Here's an even closer view of that. That's actually the Rene Gable filament, folks. Now becoming the Rene Gable coronal mass ejection, as we named it after one of our viewers. That one named after the viewer that came up with the idea of naming solar plasma filaments. Very nice. And we'll also show that in 171 angstroms. There it goes. Not half bad. What do you think? And anyway, let's get to some space weather stats here. The 10.7 centimeter radio flux now at 137 solar flux units. 137 is the new radio flux number. There's the 1 year graph. The black line represents a radio flux. The red line represents a sunspot number. Space Weather Enthusiast dashboard not showing any geomagnetic storms on the way or anything like that. That's NOAA's forecast for space weather. And interestingly enough, NOAA is showing something on the Enlil spiral here. So looks like a CME impact, a minor one, forecasted by NOAA here, coming late in the day on the 4th into the 5th. So there you go. NOAA's forecasting a CME impact. We'll cover that here momentarily, a little bit later in the video. Here's Earth's magnetic moment from space, and we have geomagnetically calm conditions here. So don't expect to see a lot of fireworks at the moment. Most of the magnetohydrodynamic pressure likely to be in the magnetotail side, the non-sun facing side of the planet, the dark side of the Earth. And please don't say dark side of the moon. That's a Pink Floyd album, not a real thing. The moon sees light on its entire surface. Anyway, the ground magnetic perturbations map is next. The past 4 hours of geospace delta B, that's changes to Earth's B field. The B field being the field that goes through the magnet, this magnet being the Earth. Speaking of magnets, the KP index is currently at 1.67. Again, geomagnetically calm conditions for space weather. And next, the real-time solar wind. We're going to cover the ACE first. And there you have the ACE. The current conditions are, well, empty set because we have very little data there. So let's just switch to the Discover. Coronal hole high-speed stream has subsided, folks. We still have about a 400 kilometer per second solar wind velocity. Solar wind density here dropping below 1 proton per cubic centimeter. And it looks like, again, that coronal hole high-speed stream looks like it is completely done at this point. Moving right along to our GOES magnetometers. They're pretty smooth here. Although the GOES 18 saw a pretty decent dip there around midnight local time this morning. Or midnight time. I guess midnight's technically last night yet. So the morning starts as soon as time elapses following midnight. Midnight is still yesterday, technically speaking, and I'm not going to get into that. But next, our top view ecliptic plane field plot. And Earth is still in a North Pole-oriented heliospheric sector. So if you check out the last image there, still quite a ways to go. We may be in a South Pole sector by tomorrow, but at this point, I'm kind of doubting it. I suspect Earth will still be North Pole heliosphere sector by tomorrow's Daily Space Weather video. Again, make sure you tune in for that. It's only the world's most comprehensive daily space weather content. Next, the photosphere in grayscale, the solar B field in blue, polar fields in green and red for north and south respectively. Next, the line-of-sight coronal hole plot. As we monitor the solar polar field reversal process in greater detail than anybody in the known universe. Let's take a look at coronal holes from SDO. There you go. And we do have a well-defined one there. That is of North Pole orientation. North Pole coronal hole right here in the Earth-facing strike zone, to quote Tamitha Skov. Quoting Tamitha Skov is a good idea when it comes to talking about space weather. Next, sunspot number here has now come back across 110, so we're at about 113 for the sunspot number. Sunspot number about 113. Let's take a brief look at the synoptic map. Again, lots of new sunspots likely to be named tomorrow. Let's take a look at our flare probability monitor and scoreboard. As you can see, several sunspots there not yet named and not yet counted. So likelihood of solar flares going up a lot here. And we are seeing some activity rising up over the eastern limb. So more sunspots likely to form, more sunspots likely to rise. It's the wild swings that you could expect to see with solar maximum. Let's take a look at SDO's imagery. There is the continuum plus 131 angstroms. Pretty classic. And let's subtract the 131 to just show the sunspots. And again, you'll see quite a bit of growth. At least over 2 days ago. And especially up there, way up north, there's one that's grown very rapidly. Watch this area right here. Rapidly growing large sunspot there with many new related umbrae there. So expecting to see another major uptick in sunspot number tomorrow, and you can expect to continue to see that for 10 months or so. 9, 10 months, something like that. We're expecting solar maximum sometime around October of this year. So it should be an interesting year, and you can expect to see these wild swings in sunspot number continuing for more like 20 months. Because that's just the way a solar cycle works, folks. Anyway, let's take a look at energetic particles next. There's the GOES proton flux. And it is pretty much back down to baseline levels there. Not quite, but almost. And there is our GOES X-ray flux. Only C-class intensifications over the past 24 hours. But again, flare likelihood going up precipitously here with the growth of large and magnetically complex sunspot groups right in the northern Earth-facing portion of the solar disk. And let's get to the SDO imagery. Yowzers, what happened? There's 94 plus 94 plus 131 angstroms, folks. And those C-class intensifications, they came from down there in the eastern limb, actually, the southeast. So down here is the T-mass, today's most active sunspot. T-mass in the southeast. Also, some activity rising there in the northeast. But the most flaring has certainly come from the southeast. Eyes on that sunspot group in the north-central region, though. It is looking quite active, and it's in a growth phase for the past 24 hours. Anyway, moving to a star chart next. That's what's going on overhead Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. If you press the Now button after you've put in your location, there you go. That's what's going on at skyandtelescope.org's star chart for Allentown zip code 18106. Next, our solar system forecast. We like to show a forecast for the solar system. It's from theplanetstoday.com. If you want to check it out yourself, that is where heavenly bodies are today. That's where they'll be in 1 week. We will have a crescent waning moon. And let's get to the astronomy photo of the day, courtesy of Mike Selby. So now this is a barred spiral galaxy in the constellation Fornax. And what's interesting about barred spiral galaxies is that this bar is believed to play some role in the galactic evolution. So there you can see that bar of bright light there. Of course, you can see these dust lanes obscuring part of that. And that's a bunch of very dense dust. It's believed that the stellar formation of the galaxy has something to do with the way the core of the galaxy operates, the massive radio source located at the core of most galaxies, if not all galaxies. It's NGC 1365 from the New General Catalog, the majestic island universe in the constellation Fornax. Want to check it out yourself? Head to apod.nasa.gov, and you too can view this awesome image. Next, coronal mass ejections. And that's what's going on. That's 80 frames from today, and quite a few CMEs there. It looks like NOAA thinks one of those is earthly directed. I'm not so sure about that. It doesn't look consistent with what their Enlil spiral showed. But let's skip forward and make our own decisions here about this. Don't just rely on NOAA's forecast. Get your own by watching our channel. Let's zoom in a little bit closer here. I may have to rock these back. Now, keep in mind that the C2 is a little bit ahead of the C3, so if you see something on the left, move your eyes over to the right. It should be just about on time there. Keep in mind the C3 is zoomed out a little further. So there's a major CME out of the north. That doesn't look earthly directed to me. There's a significant one out of the east. Doesn't look earthly directed to me either. So, I don't know. Let's take a look at our custom coronagraphs next. And we'll be able to tell from these views quite accurately whether or not those are indeed earthly directed. So I haven't neglected to be directed to zoom in on these views. What do we got? I don't know. I don't think those are earthly directed CMEs, folks. This one up here doesn't look like it has earthly directed components. The one out of the east, I think it came from behind the limb. So I disagree with NOAA on those forecasts. So yeah, that's what's going on. I don't think we are due for a CME impact. I think things are pretty calm here. Although some coronal hole high-speed stream will be on the way in about 3 to 4 days. Moving right along to our filaments section. Since filaments have a tendency to turn into coronal mass ejections, we've even started naming them. So, of course, one of those is not quite what it used to be. The Rene Gable filament has largely already ejected. Some parts of that still on their way out of the corona as we speak, some parts of it crashing back down. We also have this prominence down here, now known as the Kimberly-Nichols prominence. Yes, sometimes we name the filaments after our viewers. And if you want to name filaments yourself, join us over on X, twitter.com/smashomash, x.com/smashomash. Follow the hashtag NameThatFilament. We've had some fantastic success naming filaments. After all, we did name the strongest geomagnetic storm of the entire solar cycle so far, the Tamatha-Skov filament. So that was pretty sweet. Caused a KP 7.67, nearly a KP 8. Anyway, there are the filaments situation. There is the situation with filaments from Cerro Tololo, Chile's ground-based hydrogen alpha telescope. As we see the sun ramping up, once again, getting closer and closer to solar maximum. So once again, there are those CMEs that are happening as we make the video, and let's get to our bonus features segment. Bonus features. They're a thing. Starting out with satellite charging hazards. So we ain't got none. It's smooth sailing for satellites at the moment. There is the GOES electron flux here off the floor as we forecasted would happen after the coronal hole high-speed stream. It just lasted a full solid day longer than we thought it would. So anyway, there it is. There's the increase in the electron flux. That is the forecast that we did. It's just that the coronal hole high-speed stream lasted longer than we expected. There's the one-year graph, and you can see that popping up off the floor there. The electron shortage has ended, folks. We're back into a normal range of electron flux. So here's the forecast model, and it looks like NOAA's been watching our videos. Perhaps they agreed with the forecast. There it is, not too far off. And next we'll show the layer where it is measured. The F layer of the ionosphere, located at 300 kilometers of altitude. There is the vibrational frequency of that. This is from Australia Bureau of Meteorology. And once again, things are geomagnetically calm, so don't expect to see a lot of fireworks in the ionosphere. Everything's looking real normal. We apologize if we are unable to forecast the apocalypse by looking at the ionosphere data. Everything looks perfectly fine, so if you are looking for an apocalyptic forecast, please tune in to another channel. I'm sure there are plenty of space weather channels that are willing to talk utter nonsense. Here's the anomaly in megahertz from a 30-day median. And, again, things looking quite normal. No apocalypse is in your forecast. Next, the WAM, the whole atmosphere model. It's the Global Ionospheric Nowcast. If you know, you know. And if you don't, it's total electron content anomaly on the left, maximum usable high-frequency radio on the right, and the anomaly. Here's where we'll close out space weather with the latest high-res image in HMI continuum and HMI magnetogram from the Solar Dynamics Observatory. Here's the rock back. As we see the uptick in sunspot number likely to continue into tomorrow, it's time to move on to meteorology. Meteorology, I'll bet you're wondering where the lowest pressure in the world is. Well, even if you're not, we're going to talk about it anyway. There's the world's lowest pressure. Now, it's almost the same as a low-pressure system in the Southern Ocean, but this one's way larger. So we're going to say this is the world's most significant low-pressure zone because it's much, much bigger. Located up here in the North Sea, I guess that is. Wait a minute. That's the Arctic Ocean. The Arctic Ocean, I think. Yeah, that's the Arctic Ocean. So that's the world's lowest, that's the world's most significant low pressure. There's one down here that's as low, that area right there. But this one's way bigger. So that's the world's most significant low pressure zone. Probably the stormiest seas in the world, too. We won't worry about that. We'll just move on to our regularly scheduled meteorology segment, starting with surface winds of the east and the jet streams. Jet streams of Europe, Africa, and the Middle East, and the surface winds. Surface winds of the Americas, and the jet streams. Clouds and fog shown here. Lots of cloud formation there over Brazil. Rapid cloud nucleation happening there in the springtime. Not the springtime, the summertime. And here is the clouds and fog for the U.S. Interestingly enough, there is some dry, massive air here, providing an impulse making its way across Kansas into Missouri and Iowa as we create the video. See, this is a high-pressure zone right about here, which is giving a bit of a push and moving that moisture. Remember, folks, dry air is more moisive than massed air. Let me say that again. Dry air is more massive than moist air at a given temperature and barometric pressure. As temperature, pressure, and humidity are all related features. Moving right along to our satellite map. There's a fantastic map of what's been going on for the past 2 hours. Fantastic satellite map there from windy.com. They've got a free mobile app. Perhaps download it. We're not paid to say it. Windy.com is where the data came from. Next, weather.gov is where to get your weather warnings. If your location is lit, click your location. Those are too many counties for us to cover. Weather.gov is the homepage of the National Weather Service. And here comes some forecasts. Starting out with the pressure and precipitation forecast based on the 72-hour GFS model from Tropical Tidbits. TropicalTidbits.com. So, multiple waves of moisture coming to the Pacific Northwest and even Southern California there. 72-hour total accumulated precipitation in inches. Hey, Narlands and the Gulf states, there's some heavy rain coming to Narlands especially. Narlands. That's about 4 inches on the forecast there at the moment. Also some heavy rains coming to Texas and California. Total accumulated precipitation for the 72-hour GFS model. Next, total accumulated snow depth. Positive snow depth change for 72-hour forecast. GFS model. All the hot air in the entire state of Colorado is not going to save it from getting heavy snows. Also some heavy snows coming to California. Well, there's the map. That's why we're showing it. I'm not going to try to describe it. That's ridiculous. Next, temperature anomaly forecast in degrees Celsius for the 72-hour GFS model. TropicalTidbits.com is where you can get your own forecasts. Again, that is in degrees Celsius. We will close out the video with, that is the lightning map. We also included a layer here that shows the basic satellite map. Pretty sweet. But if we tone that down, you can see the satellite and the lightning all at once. I figured I'd show something different. Here is our real-time lightning map from lightningmaps.org. And the most lightning in the world right now is in the eastern Mediterranean. There you go. And still not very many strikes there either. Only 14 strikes per minute, folks. We'll close out with U.S. Doppler radar, clouds and fog, and water vapor. So there is our Doppler radar map. There's the lower 48. Quite a bit of rain here moving across Arizona. Here is the shortwave radiation map showing clouds and fog. And let's don't forget the water vapor map. There's that dry mass of air I was talking about making its way across Oklahoma and Kansas. And there's a pincer motion happening here because we've got this cold air up here. We've got this relative low, and then we've got this impulse right here. There's a pincer motion happening. That will cause a little bit of precipitation to break out there, although there's not that much moisture to wring out of the atmosphere. Here's your recap U.S. Doppler radar, which depicts vertical motion in the air column from ground-based Doppler radar systems. Here is your space-based shortwave radiation map showing clouds and fog. It's 3.9 micrometers infrared. And here's your space-based water vapor map showing 6.61 micrometers infrared. It shows the moist air, the dry air, and now it's showing me getting off of this video to get it onto your screen. So thanks for tuning into the Smash News Network, the busted name of news. I've been your host, Dan, a.k.a. Smash-O-Mash, signing off. And may that solar wind be at your back.